Okay, hello, and welcome to Part of Love with Colt and Ang. I'm Colt.
I'm Ange.
What is Part of Love? Part of Love is this place that we created to talk about all things love. So if you ever had questions about dating, relationships, love, lust, whatever you want to talk about, and you just feel like you can't find the answers anywhere else, or you think they're just total bullshit, hopefully we can help you here. Honey, you want to tell them more?
Well, first, let's do all the YouTube things.
Friend, comment, like, tweet, DM, slide through the DMs.
Slide. Okay, well, what are we talking about today?
Today, we are talking about how to save your relationship.
Ooh.
This is an issue that both of us have obviously gone through in past relationships and actually had success with in this relationship. We're going to tell you how we did it. And before any of that, talking of past relationships, let's talk about point number one. Is your relationship even worth saving? That is the very first question you should be asking yourself right now. Like, be honest about it. Don't just like...
Yeah, and we know you're watching this because something's up, right?
Yeah, something's up.
And that's okay. That's good. You're at least acknowledging that. Do you want to be in this relationship? Do you see a future with this person? Is it worth the fight that you're going to have to fight for each other? Is it worth doing that?
Yes, knowing going into it that you have work ahead, like real deal work ahead of you, that things are going to have to change, because if you're on YouTube looking up how to save your relationship, then you have tried something. Like, you have tried things and you are now looking for another answer, like what's really gonna happen. Like, you're really searching here. So it's gonna be work, right? Mm-hmm. It's gonna be more work than what you've done. Hopefully it is going to lead to great results one way or the other, but
there's no magic beans though.
Yeah.
There's no.
So I like that. There's no magic beans though. So if you are looking for magic beans, maybe you should look for a new partner. It's a thought.
We're being blunt today.
I just think it's easier.
Let's not beat it around the bush though. I mean, he's right. Wait.
That's good.
Let's not beat around.
Don't do either.
But, you know what? Scratch that.
No. When you always say scratch that, I'm not editing that out. That's great.
Just be clear.
Let's be clear. We are going to be fairly blunt. We tend to be fairly blunt on this channel because that's where some of that bullshit tends to come from, is people not just being honest with you. Your relationship may not be worth saving. And how do we know that? Because we have been in relationships that we worked really hard to save that weren't worth it. And we didn't know it until we were in a relationship that was worth fighting for.
Yes.
The first episode we made on this channel was called Why Fighting is a Part of Love, right? Why fighting is necessary. I'll link it right up here. It is so important. However, fighting for your love, fighting with your partner for the right reasons, for your love, is totally different than just fighting with somebody that you don't even want to really fight for or with.
Right. I mean, the whole point of this channel, the reason why we created this channel, is to help you guys find the love you deserve. And it's through our own faults and mistakes and learned experience, that we are just bringing to you what we've learned, you know, but not every relationship is meant to stay in.
No, some relationships, the title of this video, or like the first 5 seconds of this video, should have just been like, how to save a relationship you shouldn't save. And it should have just been like, hey everybody, just tell them to off. Like, it's fine.
Right.
Like, that's the end of it.
And
it doesn't have to be that deep.
Yeah, no. And don't you think that you are the only person that knows deep down whether this is worth it or not?
Yes.
Like, you...
Well, I mean, they do. You are the only person.
Exactly.
I don't know whether or not.
But, like, there are times where, like, I've been in really fucking shitty relationships.
Say it quieter. And really fucking shit.
I said it like that.
No, it's cool.
But...
I don't have to beep it out now.
Really, with really crappy people, you know, that I was trying to change. And I was like, but I love them. No, I loved the idea of them.
Hey.
I was trying to change them to be something that would eventually work for me, you know, and be healthy. No, I was in love with an idea that didn't exist. Girl, get out, move on, do the things. Get out, though, you know.
Bye.
But if you truly love each other and there's just like a growing issue, or sometimes there's things like life happens, you know?
Absolutely.
It's happened to us.
If that is something that you are realizing as you're watching this, you're like, shit, I don't really want to do any hard work for this relationship. I just kind of was hoping that maybe I could like be like, flowers or something? Like, was that, I thought maybe the answer would be flowers. It's not. And so if that's your thing, then, thanks for watching thus far. And I hope you liked it. Subscribe, like, and comment down below. And feel free to check out some of our other videos. Now, if you still want to save your relationship, here we go. Let's dive into that. What's the first step in saving your relationship?
I think it's acknowledging to yourself the issues at hand.
I think it's acknowledgement in general, but I would say it's like split into part A and part B.
Right.
Part A being like 1A being acknowledging it to yourself. Now, how do you acknowledge it to yourself? And I think this is a really important thing. We talk about acknowledging to yourself and like loving yourself and these things. And the truth is I do it by literally walking and talking to myself. I know that sounds crazy. Maybe it is crazy. Who knows? But I go on a walk with Maya or by myself and I just talk out loud. And if you just spitball and kind of free form, Jack Kerouac, just, creative expression, just go forth and just talk, you'll find yourself talking about all of those things that you may walk around or dance around, beat it around the bush, if you will, if you're talking to somebody else. Like if I'm talking to you about something, I may kind of like, I'll kind of present this way. But if it's just you talking to yourself about your issues, you don't do that. You don't bullshit yourself because you know, like you said, where you already are in the relationship, where the holes are, where are my shortcomings in the relationship. If I'm not being a total dickhead, I know where my shortcomings are. And I know where yours are from my perspective.
Exactly.
But by taking that time to talk to yourself, you can really flesh those out and kind of give yourself a list and acknowledge what those are. Another way to do it would be journaling, writing things down. At the end of my little walk and talks, I tend to open up a notes in my phone and jot something down or come inside and write it out. But however you need to do that and get it written down so that you can see this is what I feel and why. And then I'd say it takes you to part B.
Part B is a little scary.
Part
B can be.
It can be.
Part B is sharing that with your partner.
Yes.
Now, I think the only successful way to do this is by fully taking your ego out of it.
Yes.
Like
100%.
Entirely.
Everything from here on needs to be just egoless.
Right. Exactly.
That was great. I liked the jellyfish of egoless.
Yeah, because you have to take the ego out because this is very, very sensitive material we're talking about here. And sometimes it involves your shortcomings, but sometimes it involves theirs. And the way to approach that is definitely not by like that accusatory.
Yeah. So I wrote down a whole bunch of things that you did, and
Exactly.
fuck you is apparently the first one. So I don't know. Let's save this.
You have to do it gently because you love this person, right? That's the goal. The goal is to work together to fix this. And if you want out, we already gave you a free pass.
Yeah.
So get out if you want it.
4 minutes ago.
Right. But if you're committing to doing this, you have to talk about can I speak to you openly and honestly, ego-free? Maybe steal those words, but it takes practice. And then you have to sit down with so much compassion.
Yes.
And sensitively do this because it's hard to hear that I hurt you.
Yes.
Because I love you so much, it kills me. And so then I retract that just happened today, and you don't want to hurt the person.
And vice versa.
Yeah. And it's just it's a sensitive thing and you have to kind of look at it objectively, sensitively, go at it with kid gloves, whatever it is, but you have to put it on the table.
So here is where or what we were talking about earlier is I want to make a caveat here. Yes, we want you to be sensitive and kind within this, but don't do nice. I hate nice. Nice is not a big thing in this house. Kind is very, very important to us as a family. Nice, not so much. I think a lot of these times what we hear when we say be patient, be kind, be graceful is be nice, like just, don't hurt anybody's feelings. You're very likely going to. Like that's kind of part of it to a degree is acknowledging hey, there is something wrong and yes, you did that wrong thing. I feel like you did this wrong thing. And just talking about why. Don't just come to somebody and be like, again, like top of the list, just you suck. Number one, you suck. number 2. Like, don't skip past that.
Right.
But also, going into it, I know that I've been in, and we talked about this in the long distance relationship video. It'll be linked up here. We talked about the fact that, like, I was in a relationship where I wanted to break up with this person. I knew I needed to break up with this person, and I did it in the nicest way possible, but it was not kind at all, because I lied flat out to this girl's face and was like, you know, I'd like this to work, but I just don't think it can because of, I was being nice. I wanted to let her down easy, but the truth is I should have told her, like, hey, I'm not a big fan of these things that happen in a relationship. They just don't gel with me.
Right.
I don't want to continue this relationship while I'm on the road. It would have hurt in the short term, but it would have been better in the long term. So if you really want to save your relationship, you probably should get on board with the fact that some things are going to hurt in the short term, as long as the goal is kindness, in the sense that the long-term net effect of what you're talking about.
It's for the good of your relationship. The only way, and you know what's interesting about kind and nice? I think you can never really tell the truth if you're being nice. I mean, or it means that if you're just being nice, it means you're really not telling the truth. But being kind is telling the truth, whether that hurts or not. It is always for good, though.
Yeah, kind. Also, I feel like you can be nice without being kind, but you can't be kind without being nice.
Yes, and I think that also being kind and being genuine, telling your truth, is also being kind to yourself. You know, when we're just nice and we kind of cover up because we don't want to hurt somebody, you're also not following your truth. You're kind of like going against yourself, you know? So, which is inevitably not going to be good for your relationship that you're trying to save. Here on YouTube today. Right? Like, this is important. Okay, so scary thing though, we lay it out. Yeah, so then... step 1, acknowledge it. Well, it's technically step 2. Step 1, after you've decided that you do want to do this, is acknowledging it. 1A, acknowledge it to yourself. 1B, acknowledge it to your partner, with your partner, and start talking about that. Now, within this new conversation that you're having with your partner, you have to do the next part of acknowledging, which is the next step. You gotta acknowledge that you're both willing to do this work. It's almost like, I mean, you don't want to like make a contract and a sign off here, but you kind of need a verbal agreement. Yeah, you gotta acknowledge, like, are we willing to do this work for each other? Like, you know, you kept watching the video, but if it's just one of you watching it here, you don't know that both of you are willing to do any of the stuff that we've already talked about, to have the conversation with yourself. Yeah. Which is going to be a continuous thing. That's not like a one-off, like you do one crazy walk and talk where you're like, it's me, Joe. Oh, hi, Joe. It's not just that one time. You're gonna do this consistently. You're gonna journal consistently. You're going to communicate with yourself and your person consistently. Mm-hmm. That is part of that work. But in addition to that, there's some other stuff. You need to have that talk that you're willing to do whatever it takes for this relationship. And it's not a one-time conversation. It's not a one, well, if we just do this and then you don't talk about it for weeks. I mean, when we've had this, and we've had a couple rock bottom moments, because life is crazy, you know, and life hits you, and are you willing to fight together, right? And we did, but a couple of those times, it was like, I had to really know I lost my train fully. I fully lost my train. Yeah, that was so good. You had me on the hook. No, I had to, well, I guess what I was saying, I had another point in the back of my head, but what I was saying was I fully needed to know you were on board. Yeah. And I needed to know that at the drop of a hat, we could talk. And I think, like, life happens, right? And they bring up experiences and examples and things. And so I might offend you in a certain way, and you have to be willing to call me out, and I have to be willing to listen to it right then and there. Yeah. I think that's the best way to do it. And it's not, again, it's compassionate, and it's hard to hear too at the same time. It's with love and also hard, but that's the only way you're gonna I'll caveat this by saying you have to make time for those conversations. Like, sometimes, yes, you need to be right there and available. Sometimes you just can't because of work or just an opportune time. We've actually made a video about time and space during arguments. I will link that right up here. That's a good one. That is very, very important. But what we're talking about is just, if nothing else is going on, you can't just use the excuse. Like, I don't want to talk about this right now. Like, let's just talk about it later. Like, don't push it. Don't kick the can down the road. Yeah.
deal with it. Deal with the fucking problem so that you don't have to deal with it when it becomes a bigger thing.
That's exactly. Don't kick the can down the road. I'm sorry to take us off topic, but I'm really bad with like, what is it called? These
You say it.
analogies, isms?
Nope.
Well, I just said beating it around the bush.
Beating it around the bush. What's the baker one? I'm trying to say it without...
6 in one, half dozen in the other.
Okay, there we go.
Is that correct?
That is pretty close. I think that works. 6 of one, half dozen of the other, but 6 in one, half dozen in the other works. What about the bush and the birds in the hand?
Oh, I'm gonna kill the birds with the stone. I'm gonna kill all the birds with one stone. I don't really know. I'm bad at it. Okay, we're getting way off topic. Anyway, I like that. Kick the can down the road. I still don't really understand it, but he'll tell me afterwards. Point is,
oh God, I love you.
Try to make yourself emotionally available as uncomfortable as it is. And
Yes.
trust us, it is uncomfortable sometimes.
Of course. Fucking sucks sometimes, but you know,
God,
it's necessary.
Yes, but then you'll get more comfortable with it.
Yes. Yes, that is very, very important to remember. You will get more comfortable and be able to do it. It's like anything else. Having true communication in your relationship, acknowledging these issues, it's something that, like any other skill, takes practice, and as you do it more, you will get better at it. To the degree where we can, if there's we're having a conversation and there's like a slight or a perceived slight that I make towards her, she'll just, hey, really quick, just so you know, the way that you just said that, this felt kind of shitty. Like, did I say something? Or there's always a what and why. And that's a big thing for us here at Part of Love.
Yeah.
What and why.
And I think, though, what if we take it a step further? Because we do this well now, I would say.
Okay. I disagree.
What?
I'm just kidding. I have no clue what it is.
We take it a step further, and sometimes it requires more explanation on both people's parts. Well, am I really overly sensitive, or why do I feel that way? Or maybe I am, like, maybe you didn't mean it like that at all, and it didn't sound like that, but because I'm struggling with issues that I haven't healed myself, like maybe, there are certain things that I'm like, well, I've been really hurt by someone before, and I feel a little bit traumatized, and I haven't healed that trauma yet. And so when someone speaks to me in a way that I think is like this, or whatever it is, I am triggered. But that's not necessarily your fault, and you didn't even mean it like that, So you kind of have to be open about that. And it's a little scary to share your past sometimes, especially in the beginning of relationships, but you have to, because it will build the foundation of trust, right? But
to be fair, if you're at the beginning of your relationship and Googling this video, get out. Go back to step one. Fucking run. Red flag. Red flags. We got video about that up here too. Yes, I completely agree that those things are so important, and that comes, I'll think, back to the patience and the grace of somebody like, we're talking about if you're in a relationship with somebody, you love them and you just feel like you've been drifting, like something's just not there, or there's been an issue, you have to deal with those things as they come. And that's just it's gonna be a part of your life and a part of love, right? So yeah, so some more of the work. Let's really bang out what the work really is as far as what we're concerned. So number 1, constant open communication, right? That's what we've been talking about. Number 2,
check in on a regular basis with yourself and with each other.
Yes. So that goes back to the thing that we were saying before. This is not just a one-off, right? You're constantly doing this, and this is not just constantly being like, hey, is everything okay?
Right.
Hey, is everything fine? Right? It's not that at all. And I do think that this gets a little bit of even one of our favorite couples from the TV, Jim and Pam. They get into this later on in the series, and this is one of the relationships that we've seen that really they do a great job with that relationship for so much of it. But at some point they get into, not to ruin it, but if you haven't seen it, it's not. They get into a little bit of like couples therapy, right? Couples counseling. And at one point they're told to say things like, well, that makes me feel as if, and it suddenly, you get this feeling, and I've seen this happen in real couples and that go through this kind of therapy, where all of a sudden they're given this new way of speaking to each other, and they're suddenly so divided. That thing when you get that, well, I feel like you feel like I feel, that there's some, it puts a huge divide between you. Don't change your whole speech pattern.
Yeah.
Acknowledge when you're being a dick and don't be a dick. Like, change that. But you don't necessarily, I don't feel, need that huge divide of speech.
Well, you don't need to do that whole now on Instagram, it's like, and I honor the spirit
Yeah,
within
like,
your soul.
yeah.
And I'm
Wait, I saw something. John Gorski sent this to Brandon and I from the Refinery, another show that happens here on Fridays. Playlist up there. He sent this thing. Somebody was saying how to break up with somebody, and he said, and it was like a paragraph and a half of a text, and he was like, you just need to say through text or call, very simply, I honor you and who you are as a soul and a life force from the ether and beyond. I know that I can never know all of your idiosyncrasies or the traumas that have been built up from the flowers that have bloomed within your soul over the eons. And what I would like to say is that you and I are not meant to be. And I was like, shut the f up. That's too much. It's too much. And maybe that works for a couple of Wanderlust flower power kids, but like, oh my God.
If you're not grounded and rooted in that kind of language, like that's
then
not
adding
your
it
truth.
in just makes it again, if it's not your truth, it separates you more. So what I'm saying is, all of this, like, check in with each other means pay fucking attention.
Yeah.
Like, pay attention.
Yep.
Like, like I've said like so many times in the last 10 seconds. Like, but when a situation feels a certain way. Don't just let it bubble over and be like, whatever, they're being jackasses. Like, just
no, you have to speak your truth, but speak it gently. Like, for some
Love that.
reason, yeah.
Love that.
But for some reason, like I feel like this happens sometimes, right? We all get a little jealous. I made a video about it. You can say to your partner, it's okay to say, hey, I don't know what this feeling is. Like, I don't know if it's anything you did or if I did, but like I feel like really uncomfortable around this person. Mm-hmm. I feel like he or she is, I don't know, and I just like I'm not comfortable around it. Like, I don't know what that energy is.
Explore that though.
And yes, and vice versa, the other person then should be open to it and be like, okay, well, I don't want you to feel not secure. I don't want you to feel like I love you so much. So how, like, let's talk about it. Yeah. That is an okay conversation to have. It is nothing to be embarrassed about. Like, no, but if you don't say that, even as comfortable as it is, uncomfortable as it is to bring it up, like, it's gonna fester.
100%.
And then you're gonna get jealous every time they go out with their friends or go dinner, and then you're like, whose voices is that in the background? Like, nip it in the bud.
Yeah.
Yes! Hey. You told me about that one time.
I did.
And I was like, wait, it's about like a plant. Okay.
Oh my God, you guys are getting a 2-for-1. This is like millennial lingo and
yeah.
Except not millennial. These phrases have been around for like a long time. Yeah. So I mean, for my money, those are the most important things of the work: the checking in, the constant communication, looking at yourself constantly, openly, and honestly, looking at them openly and honestly, and taking your ego out of the whole thing.
Yeah.
And as I say, take your asshole out of it. Now, you might need a little explanation. Take your asshole nature out of it. We all have that little like prick of a person in us to some degree. Take the gotcha moments out of your relationship.
I like that.
It is not about you're competing in the traditional like Greek sense of the word, to compete, to strive together, pushing each other forward. You're not competing for points. It's not, if your whole thing is who can dunk on the other one the most, again, right back to the first 5 minutes of this video, maybe just subscribe and then like roll out of the relationship. Like, it's not worth it. And so many people that we see in relationships and that come to us, God, it's all about that, well, they did this, and so I said this, and I fucking burned them. Like, digging.
Ooh. Yeah. You're like, well, this is a lot of hatred here. Let's just leave.
Are you interested in that? Like, is that what you want?
Another thing, though, too, and we have some subscribers that talk about this often, is when one person really wants to save the relationship and the other person may say they want to, but they are not willing to do the work. That's why is it step 2, step 3?
It's one of the steps.
One of the steps. That verbal contract, maybe you make a written contract, I don't know, but you both have to show up, because it's impossible. It's not one person doing this. You can't save it on your own. It is both working consistently.
Absolutely.
So know that if that person doesn't show up for step 2 for that verbal contract, it also says you're out, like run.
Well, I think this leads us to our definition of love, which we talk about a lot on the channel. Love, as we define it, is action or the lack thereof over time. So the action or inaction that they take as part of that verbal contract of, are you willing to do this work with me for the relationship? Like, are we, and it's not, even the way that I just said that makes it sound so, ugh. Are you willing to do this work with me? Do not say that.
Yeah.
Are we willing to do this? Are we up for it? I'm up for it. Are you up for it?
You know what I said? Because I'm a little toughy, right? Sometimes I was like, when we got to a certain point, I said, are you going to fight for me? For me, that resonates. I'm like, do you want me bad enough? You're going to fight for me. Because I'll fight for you.
Yeah.
But like,
if it's about finding the love you deserve,
what's
are you
more
going to fight for me? Are you in this with me or not? If you're not, deuces. See ya.
Whatever the language is for you that like really resonates in your relationship. But like, yeah. That whole new age thing. Maybe if that's not you, like,
yeah. And if it is you, there's other people to probably talk to. We don't, probably not the right ones for that. The important thing is that doing this work, acknowledging it to yourself, deciding about whether or not the relationship is worth saving. If you decide that, it's a little, is the relationship worth saving? Yes, go this way. No, get out of it, right? But if you say yes, then you have to acknowledge it to yourself and to your partner. Doing that and you guys deciding together that you're willing to do the work and then actually stepping up and showing up for each other and doing the work, that's gonna save your relationship. And that is what?
A part of love!
Boom! Hey! So thank you so much for checking out the video today. Baby, you wanna tell them what the playlists are?
If you wanna check out some of our dating videos, you can check them out over here. If you want to talk about relationships, you can check them out over here. And if you want to know more about our love story, you can check it out right here.
Yeah, none of that is correct.